opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Greetings, welcome to Lit Happens. I'm Jim Brayshaw and I'm sitting in Wes Funk's chair for today's episode of Lit Happens, where we showcase Saskatchewan's extraordinary literary excellence. And today, extremely excited to be part of the show as I get to sit with author Jean Freeman. You may know her from her appearances on Corner Gas and Little Mosque on the Prairie, among others. But we're here today to talk with Jean, and welcome to Lit Happens,
Thank
Jean.
you, Jim. I'm so pleased to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And I want to know about you. You started telling me off camera a bit about your life and journey. Tell me about Jean.
Well, the way everybody starts writing is their own personal experience. For me, I was born and raised in Weyburn, a good Saskatchewan girl. And I started early reading. I loved the library. I spent a lot of time there. And it never occurred to me until I was about 9 years old. My best friend's uncle wrote a book, and she brought it to school, and we sat and read the book. It was the first time I ever knew that real people wrote books. I thought they were all dead. And so this was a revelation to me. And of course, the book was Who Has Seen the Wind, and the uncle was Bill Mitchell. And so that kind of led, and I took up writing, and I've written for, but the book that we're going to talk about today, which is the fourth book that I've actually published, is one that I didn't set out to write. I actually told it to my children when they were very little.
And if our audience can't see that, that's Terror on Turtle Creek.
Terror on Turtle Creek,
And you
yes.
are going to tell me how this book came to be.
I am indeed, if we can do it in 10 minutes. I'm sure we can. Because I told the story to my kids, as I say, when they were little, and that was about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do very much with it as they grew up, but when my grandson came along, my daughter said, "Do you still have that book that you wrote all the?" I said, "Yes, it's someplace." So I typed it out because, of course, at the time it was in a typed version. I put it on computer, and then I had a few copies made for Christmas, and that was the limit. And then 2 years ago, we had the wonderful floods, all floods, and I thought, what a wonderful, so I called a couple of publishers and sent the manuscript over, and nobody was interested. So I thought, well, I missed the window, when are we going to have floods again like that? Of course, this year we had floods again. And so I thought, I'm not going to wait for a third warning, so I went ahead and published the book, and Terror on Turtle Creek came out. It wasn't without, you want me to go into the side story?
I'd love to know a little bit about that side story, because a woman of your youthful exuberance who's able to listen to signs like that to bring her book out.
I was waiting for you to say a woman of your age, which, so thank you, you're very kind. But the book, I had vetted by a couple of children of that age, because it's for kids, say 7 to 11, depending on
So a preteen reader, or a chapter book, we might call it.
And it's, and it's an adventure story, so it was
Yes.
important to know whether it was exciting to the readers, potential readers. So I had my illustrators, 2 kids who were about 10 and 8 at the time, read the book, and they liked it. They said, yes, it was really exciting, but why didn't he just use his cell phone? Okay, so I thought, well, yeah, so and then I thought, well, that ruins that. I can't rewrite that. And then I thought, well, no, you don't really need to rewrite it. There's just some reference. There'd be some way of it. So I did. You will find that we deal with the cell phone question early on, so that was fine. And then my publishing shepherd, Heather Nichol, who has your Nicholsworth Publishing,
Yes.
Heather called me and said, I think you should have a look at the names of the characters, because there's no little girl named Peggy anymore. Peggy, all the Peggies are over 6 years of age. So I had to go through the book and sort of look and take out names that were no longer cool. And so we have, we now have Trevor's, we have Tiffany's and things like that.
Yeah, got to stay contemporary.
Exactly. And so that was a real learning experience for me. And so in addition to having come by another route to being a writer, now staying a writer, I have to find new skills.
You continue to be updating yourself on
do.
names and such. Well,
I
I know when I delved into this volume, it was one that I kept holding my breath, even from looking at the cover. It just made me want to hold my breath.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Right away, and it was exciting to read through it.
And you're much over, you're not definitely in the the usual age range for that.
No, but there's a lot of child about me, as there is with you, Jean. But I want to know what the response to this book
It's
is.
actually been very good, and as with the earlier books, which are picture books that are for early readers, and they're one is a rhyming book, and the other one is a question-answer kind of book.
Yes.
But this book as well, people are telling me that they're using them for autistic kids who have difficulty learning to read in a usual way. For people who are learning English as a second language.
Yes.
So they're being used in a lot of ways that I never thought of. And then, of course, there's a book that I did this summer because of the 50th anniversary of Wascana Centre.
The Wascana Wild Goose Chase.
Wascana Wild Goose Chase, which is about Lucy Goose and Alexander Gander playing hide and go seek.
Fantastic.
And even though it's set in Regina, it is a Saskatchewan story.
Yes.
And a lot of people are sending them to friends who live out of the province or friends who have been here and have, they're coming back.
Yes.
So that's had an unexpected spin-off too. So
And it just elicits so much of home in people's minds when they have these images brought up. And I'd just like to mention your other two books you have, Where Does the Dog Sleep? And Where Does the Cat Nap?
That's right, only it's your dog and your cat.
Well,
so
I apologize, Jean.
that's all
Where
right.
does your
Be
dog
personal.
sleep
Yes.
and where does your cat
Yes,
nap?
and
Thank
I had many, many suggestions from many people about what could happen. And so, it was fun.
Did you have a pet that would have spawned the thinking for those at some
Actually,
point
it was
in
my
your...
children, because I had particularly my youngest child who had a unique way of sleeping in odd spots. He slept in the bathtub sometimes. This is when he was very little. I mean, when he got older, he got more, more traditional. But and so that was kind of what led to the first thing. That and a picture of my grandson with their family dog, which is a chocolate lab. And the boy and the dog were sharing the bed, and the dog, of course, had 90% of the bed. And my comment was, that's a dog who sleeps wherever he wants
Classic
to.
dog. Now, you mentioned your children again, and I'm glad you did. You said this was a 40-year work.
It was.
So how did your children respond now, seeing you finally bring this to life?
Well, fine, I guess. My oldest son, is more impressed by the fact that his 5-year-old daughter had her first book published at the age of 6.
Yeah.
So what he said is that it seems to be something that's genetic and inherited, and I've probably condemned the family to being, books forever. So, but
books is a good thing.
I think so. There are a lot of things I could have passed on to them that weren't quite as good, but books I think are all right.
And as we're getting near the end of our time, I just want to ask you, Jean, do you have another work in progress or something on your mind you want to tell us about?
If you ever watch Lit Happens, you'll know that every writer has another work in the wings, waiting in the wings. And yes, of course I do. I have several. The one probably closest to being, if I could sell the 5 boxes of books in the basement, the one closest to being the next book is a book called, I think, The Big Bang Book.
Oh.
Because the dog book, the Where Does Your Dog Sleep, is popular with little kids because you get to say no a lot. You answer the question, does your dog sleep up in a tree? No, my dog doesn't. Well, next to saying no, making noises is another very as you know as a father,
absolutely.
that making noise is a kid's happy thing. So this is about, it's got a whole bunch of things that you can make noises with. And so that watch for The Big Bang. You can tell my television watching habits.
Well, it sounds like one to look forward to, and we certainly look forward to how Terror on Turtle Creek does, and it's just been fantastic having you here.
Well, it's been wonderful. I'm glad to have been in on your maiden voyage as an interviewer. You've done very well.
You made it go smoothly for me.
Well, I look forward to coming back, and either you or Wes, I'd be delighted to talk to you.
And your books certainly will sell for all of those children out there, or those of us who are children at heart. And where can we get your books?
They're at Indigo, McNally Robinson chapters, and online from my publisher, Shepherd, which is Your Nicholsworth Publishing.
Your Nicholsworth Publishing. Well, that is just super. Well, thank you again.
And
thank you for tuning in to Lit Happens. I'm Jim Brayshaw, sitting in for Wes Funk. And please take time to go to the Shaw TV website if you want to catch this episode or others, or wesfunk.ca would be a great place to go to catch up on Lit Happens. Thanks.